We'd like to welcome you to the Donnie Glover Show. As always, we promise you some deep, insightful interviews. You don't want to miss this next one. Stay tuned.
At Fulton Bank, we're personally invested in every community we serve. So sometimes we're big in small ways, like finding a way to get Crystal and Dan a mortgage before the baby arrived. Other times we're small in big ways, like local decision making and financial coaching that helped Fernando open his own shop. Fulton Bank, a community bank that's big and small in all the right ways.
I was very fortunate and blessed to be able to purchase a house, and then in the meantime, walk into quite a bit of equity. Thank you so much, Calvin. You've been a blessing. I really, really have appreciated everything that you have done to, help me along on this journey, because I just believe that God orders our steps, and I'm just grateful that He brought you into our lives. That's it.
We'd like to welcome you back to the Donnie Glover Show. We have with us Reverend Angelic Williams. She's the pastor of St. Luke's United Methodist Church in the heart of Sandtown. Pastor, how you doing?
Good to be here.
How was that introduction?
Perfect.
Freddie Gray, 10 years later. We did a big old thing over at Sharon Baptist Church. You came there.
We did.
You seem to have been touched by the event. And you certainly touched people with your words, your thoughts.
I think it was a wonderful event, a great time of coming together with other community leaders and nonprofit leaders about the work that is happening in the community and the healing that's taking place. I was glad to see that there was a lot of verbs being used, things that are being done and not just things that are just being talked about. So I was happy to be a part of a panel of people that's about the work and not just talking.
Were you surprised?
Not necessarily surprised, but I think that when you rewind back to 10 years ago, there was a lot of excitement, a lot of news, a lot of lights, camera, action. And so it was opportunity and platform to do a lot of talking. And so here we are 10 years later, and I'm glad to see that actual work is being done, because these are people that I have to be among and serve and see multiple times a week. And it really is about the work.
Why are you in Sandtown?
I'm in Sandtown because Bishop Latrell Miller Easterling assigned me here 2.5 years ago to serve as an itinerant pastor of St. Luke United Methodist Church. When I arrived, there was about 19 people in the congregation. It, like many churches all over the city, had been ailing in the post-COVID culture. And what I recognized when I got there, it was a congregation that was not in touch with community. And because I am a community person, I wanted to do something about that. I think that it is a way to grow both congregations and community simultaneously as you attempt to do the work that God has called you to do.
So, what do you think of Sandtown?
I think Sandtown is a beautiful place to be. I think Sandtown is a place where folks look out for one another, that they are kind to one another. I think that Sandtown is a community that is also in desperate need of resources, desperate need of boots on the ground, if you will, of care and compassion. And I think it's work in progress that we all want to realize, but it can't be done by just one individual, one entity. It has to be a collective effort.
The church has played an interesting role
Hmm.
since Freddie Gray.
Hmm.
So, you're not here because you're typical.
Okay.
I've had a typical experience with some churches
Uh-huh.
that disappointed me.
Hmm.
Any thoughts on that? the absence of a church or the church even clowning?
Well, I don't think it's
Not your church.
I get it. I get it. I don't take it personally um, uh, by any means. But when you say the church, it encompasses all of us simply because we are one kingdom, right? We are individual congregations, but we make up one kingdom of God. But I think it is not common in um, for most places, right? Baltimore and Sandtown isn't unique, and that has been a sort of effort that churches have become a lot more inward facing as opposed to the church of old that was more outward facing and that was a part of the living breathing organism that is community. And so that isn't something that is ironic or unique to Sandtown. That's happening all over the globe, all over the country. And so I'm just trying to do the work that God has called me to do on my little corner of Gilmore and Riggs, and the work that God has assigned to my hands, and that is to do the work that Jesus
You're a
did.
block from Western District
I
Police
am.
Station,
I am. I
and
am.
your church is out in the community.
We
You
are.
have outdoor festivals. Nobody does that. Why are you doing outdoor festivals? Who you think you are? Jesus?
I who I think I am, Angelic Williams. And my name, by definition, means heavenly messenger. So I always got a word from the Lord. I'm always on a mission from God.
Well, go
And
on, preacher. Preach a word. Preach a word.
so being in community is following the example of Jesus. That is what disciples are. Disciples do imitate and behave the way Jesus did. And when you read and study the mission and ministry of Jesus, you found him not closed in to the church and in the temple. You found him in the streets, healing people, causing the blind to see, feeding people with two fish and five loaves of bread. You saw the miracles that were taking place. Those were taking place in community, not behind closed doors.
Don't stop.
I'm answering your question. That's why I'm
I
out
want to
there.
hear that sermon you kicked off in Sharon Baptist Church. Had me rocking back and forth.
That's the work we do. So we like to be out in community. That doesn't mean just having festivals, right? Because festivals are big efforts, takes a lot of money and resources to be able to do that. We do those, but we're out there every Wednesday with a pop-up breakfast where we are have fresh fruit and pastries and bagels and all that kind of things. Where I'm
You
rescuing
serving
food.
bagels in
Yeah.
Sandtown?
I'm serving bagels and cream cheese in Sandtown that I rescued from Canton for this community because I believe people should be able to eat. So we're there every Wednesday. And then the last Saturday of every month, we feed the community with a what we call a community meal. It's called Feast of Faith. And I cook it myself. And
Hold up. Can you cook?
I can cook
How we know you can cook?
because you can come the last Saturday of every month and put a fork in your mouth and experience it.
Okay.
But
What's on the next menu?
last time we had fried fish, fish sandwiches and salad and such. It rotates chili and cornbread, baked chicken,
Real
collard greens.
cornbread
Oh yes, real
with
cornbread.
butter?
Yes, butter
I
and
bet you.
honey.
What?
Butter and honey.
She's starting some
Yes.
stuff up in here.
91-year-old church mother is in there frying the fish herself. No one gets the fried fish but her. But we do that and we distribute groceries once a month. And then we also distribute what we call an emergency laundry kit. The ministry is called Two Fish and Five Loads, meaning loads of laundry, understanding that poverty and lack
Y'all
of
washing
resources.
clothes?
We're not washing the clothes, we're giving resources so that people can be able to wash clothes.
Do they?
Yes, they do. Because one of the things we found out in our listening session, because we are a listening church, we don't build programs that we think people need. We go out and listen to the community so that we can be able to meet needs. And so, what we found and learned is that children weren't going to school because they didn't have clean clothes, and it was a source of bullying. So, we provide laundry detergent as well.
Where'd you get those fly glasses?
My eye doctor, no risk.
Sonny got fun with her. What didn't we cover now, Pastor? Because I
Um,
don't want no stuff. I don't want them preachers coming after me because I know you know some of them.
I know a couple. I know a couple. I just been back in Baltimore a little over 8 years. I spent the last 2 decades in Central Florida serving as an evangelist and serving in international missions all over the globe. So I'm not as connected in Baltimore, but I am happy to be here serving.
Well, that's why we want to get you connected. But here's the thought. I want you to look into the camera and give somebody some hope. We have homelessness, we have drug addicts, we have alcoholics, we have gamblers, people out at the horseshoe and they should be paying the daycare bill or the gas and electric bill. We got people who might be sitting ready to take their own life. I mean, our veterans deal with suicide on a regular basis. Please take this moment and share a message of hope.
So when I think about the plethora of concerns and things that plague us as a culture and as a society, and particularly in communities of color, the issues are complex. They are complex and they are great, but none of it is beyond the reach of God. And so I would encourage you to get plugged into community. It's not as important to get plugged into a church as it is to get plugged into a community. And so I am what you call a fresh expressions practitioner, where I cultivate communities of faith outside of the walls of the church, understanding not everybody's going to walk through the doors of 1100 North Gilmore. But in community, we find strength, we find faith, we find encouragement, and it helps us all to be able to grow stronger and live stronger and be the best that God has called us to be. We find purpose in community, we find all of that in community, and God is within each of us that helps strengthen each and every one of us. Um, One of the things I think that happens in community that is most important, whether those are communities of faith inside the local church or outside the local church, is sharing. Sharing is a huge part of faith. It's the thing that Jesus did with his disciples when he served the Last Supper. That meal was about sharing. And that's how I think that we address the woes in our culture, is by sharing, serving one to another.
There's one other thing we haven't talked about.
Yes.
Sandtown, 21217. We have more people returning from the institutions of incarceration. They come back to 21217. We have a 70% recidivism rate. America's 5% of the world's population, but we have 25% of the world's incarcerated persons. What do we do to reverse mass incarceration?
That's a huge question. It really is. I think support. I think support and resources are important, and the church is going to have to play its role in that support system. I believe that we should be able to have programs. Church, it has never historically been just about worship, right? It's about worship, but it's also about being a resource for community. So we should be having resources in our local church, be it meals, be it outreach and food programs, be it resume workshops, be it mental health referrals, which we do over at St. Luke. It is a way for us to support the whole person, because God is looking not just to heal and address our spiritual needs, He is healing and taking care of us holistically. I also believe that the church should make space for everyone. And so at St. Luke, we are creating a community of belonging where everybody can find Jesus.
You know, I had my first piano recitals at St. Luke United Methodist
That's awesome.
way back in the day.
Way back in the day.
Yeah. And you said it's a 90-year-old church mother who does the fried fish.
Yeah, she's 91 years old.
You got hot sauce?
Oh, we always have hot sauce and fresh potato beard.
Really?
Yes.
Bread?
Yes.
Whole wheat?
Not usually. It's
White
usually
bread?
potatoes.
You call it
Usually
my.
potato bread.
Well, Pastor, I want to thank you for joining us. This has been,
Yeah.
I just wanted people to know that we have real boots on the ground. When I saw your outdoor festival, and it's you have it all the time.
Yes, it's coming up on June 7th. Colgate will be in the community
Oh
doing
yeah.
free dental screenings for children 12 and under. We'll have a video game bus as well as carnival games, free food, and we'll just have burgers and hot dogs. We'll have burgers, hot dogs, chicken, all kinds of sides. Baptism, feet washing, and community communion.
Oh, slow down, slow down. You said feet washing?
Feet washing. I'm going to do what Jesus did.
For real?
I'm going to do what Jesus did.
You heard it. We're going to take a pause. We've been talking with Reverend Angelic Williams, St. Luke's United Methodist Church historic Sandtown community. You're watching the Donnie Glover Show. We'll be right back.
Invested in every community we serve. So sometimes we're big in small ways, like finding a way to get Crystal and Dan a mortgage before the baby arrived. Other times we're small in big ways, like local decision making and financial coaching that helped Fernando open his own shop. Fulton Bank, a community bank that's big and small in all the right ways.
I was very fortunate and blessed to be able to purchase a house, and then in the meantime, walk into quite a bit of equity. Thank you so much, Calvin. You've been a blessing. I really, really have appreciated everything that you have done to, help me along on this journey, because I just believe that God orders our steps, and I'm just grateful that He brought you into our lives. That's it.
I'd like to welcome you back to the Donnie Glover Show. Well, every now and then you run across an icon. You know him better than I do, Mark Clark. How are you?
What's going on, my brother?
As a matter of fact, we have 3 shows. We're in a family now.
We're in a family now. Yes, we are.
You gonna tell them about it?
Yeah, that's right. So actually, you're the. I'm gonna give you you're the leader, because you have.
Me?
Yes, you've been
Oh,
doing
D.
this. You've been killing it and eating it for years. You had your own media company for all these years, Donnie. You were first out the gate with this streaming thing. I don't care what nobody says. We saw it. We saw it when it first happened. You
saw
were
what?
there. You were there. You know the story I always tell. Donnie with a camera in people's faces. Tell me your story, and then boom, right straight to press. You get back, put it on your site, and boom, you're scooping everybody. And so now everybody does that. Now people use their phones. News stations use their phones to shoot, and we do too. But yeah, so we got BMoreNews, we got Marketplace with Dr. Vanya Pettigrew, and then of course the Good News Show with Mark Clark, and Grant Griffin Productions we're under the umbrella in some ways, but at the same time we are still independent and working together, and so we're family.
We've covered some major events
Major events
thus far.
from the breakfast, from Al Sharpton's breakfast to Jazzy Summer Nights just the other night. You actually have had some powerful interviews already. You're the powerful interview
No,
guy.
you interviewed Dr. Bro.
I did, Dr. Bro.
I have not interviewed
And
Dr.
the governor.
Bro.
We're celebrating the 150th anniversary of Bowie State, Bowie State University, and
And that's the oldest HBCU in Maryland.
it's the oldest, and that's something. I think
They always tell you that.
they're 160. Well, I think they're 160, and then
But where-
Poppins 150
But where did they start?
in Baltimore.
In Baltimore.
I think both of the oldest started in Baltimore. I believe so.
Interesting.
Isn't that something?
How does it feel on this side of the world?
Which aspect?
Media owner.
Yeah, it's different. It's different, and I've learned something that you always used to say, but I don't think you get it. This is a message for people who haven't stepped out on your own. You don't, until you do it, you really can't understand it. And so this is what I realized, Donnie. Used to always people told me, you should do this, Mark. You should, you should do this more. You should promote yourself more. You should, whatever, right? And what I realized was, yeah, I'm in the rooms, but I didn't know how to tee up the ask. You know what I mean? So in other words, I had the governor on, had the mayor on all the time on the Big Fat Morning Show. I never asked for anything. I never said, hey, could you help me with my nonprofit? Or hey, can you do that? I never asked for anything because I didn't want to be intrusive, not realizing the value. So knowing my value, it took me 58 years to finally figure out to know my value. So now it's great because I've never asked people anything. So now when I call and say, hey, I want to do an interview, they're like, sure. Hey, I want to be at the event. They're like, sure.
Hey, we want them sponsorship dollars.
They're like, sure. That's the step. That's the step you got to teach me how to do better.
How much you got? What's your marketing budget?
Right. What's your marketing budget?
How many commercials do you want?
And the beauty of our team
Is that Zelle, PayPal, or Cash App?
The beauty of our team is we have already interviewed so many powerful people and so many powerful brands that we do have the receipts. And you have the receipts over years. You have the receipts over years, as do I in some way.
You're watching the Donnie Glover Show. Longtime colleague. He's covered me. He's covered for me. And I'm very grateful. Hope you be at the big time birthday party, 627. That's Donnie Glover 60.eventbrite.com. You're the MC. I didn't tell you that.
That's how it works.
Of the reception.
That's it. That works, man. I'm here. We're brothers.
We'll see you next time.
At Fulton Bank, we're personally invested in every community we serve. So sometimes we're big in small ways, like finding a way to get Crystal and Dan a mortgage before the baby arrived. Other times we're small in big ways, like local decision-making and financial coaching that helped Fernando open his own shop. Fulton Bank, a community bank that's big and small in all the right ways.
Hi, it's Saidah Spinner, and we're here with the Donnie Glover Show and the Boss Ladies of Baltimore. And we are here today with Boss Lady S. Monique. Hi, Monique.
Hi, how
I
are you?
am so excited. I've been excited to talk to you all day.
Ooh,
Yes.
excited.
Where
Thank
do we
you.
begin? I mean, with the Lifetime movie, with the current, where do you want to go? Because the Lifetime
I'm
movie,
here for it all.
wow.
Boss ladies, we here for it all.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about this Lifetime movie. I know that this is a very, very interesting story. And although it is, kind of tragic, it sounds like it was like your pain poured into power. So let's talk about the Lifetime movie first and foremost.
She jumped right out the gate with the
Yes,
goodies.
I'm here with the good stuff.
So Lifetime came about
Mhm.
because I made sure I did exactly what you said. Took my pain and turned it into purpose, which actually evolved into the power that I
Amazing.
have today.
Amazing.
Being able to pour back into my family, my career, and
Mm.
then my community, it just meant the world for me.
Okay.
So I am known as the longest living Jane Doe. I had been missing for well over
Whew.
50 years.
Yes.
So I'm a multi-award
Wait,
winning
say that again. You had been
missing,
missing.
unidentified for over 50 years.
Okay. So you were a missing child.
I was a missing child.
Okay.
Yes.
So missing child, how many years?
Over 50 years.
Over 50 years. And now we have a Lifetime movie to talk about your story.
Yes.
How has that poured into now your career where you are today?
Well, it probably was the roles were reversed. I
Okay.
had an opportunity to become the vice president of construction company, Underground Utilities, a
Mm-hmm.
little over 25 years ago, owned by Ari Harrington Plumbing and Heating.
Okay.
And again, it started as a one man, one van, and this young man took advantage of every single opportunity he could, and that
Mhm.
became part of the mayor's office of procurement. That happened really, really well for him.
Nice.
Then becoming a minority took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And that work experience then allowed him to become a general contractor. Let me tell you,
Mm.
it has evolved so well that he's taken over 30 other MBEs and WBs under his wings. And I'm talking women with dump truck companies,
Wow.
women with flagging companies, small businesses with labor forces. So just to
Jeez.
be able to live your dream of being like that plumber and evolve into the largest underground utility company single-handedly in the city of Baltimore, where they say
And that's all
it
you.
can't be done.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's all, well, I'm just happy to be a part of the vision. So
Oh,
I'm like
how
the
humble of
catalyst
you.
behind.
Mm.
That's why I said vice president. He's a sole proprietor. But what we've
Yes.
been able to do in 25 years
Yeah.
is basically just be the example of taking advantage of every resource available to you. And
Yeah.
it's not given to you. You really have to work
Yeah.
for it.
Especially as a woman in this industry. And you're in an industry that is not traditional for women.
No.
Talk about that. How did you navigate that? Because you're like creating a pathway for us.
Yeah, so my voice is a lot raspy now. So it used to be, "Hi, how you doing?" It's been a difficult ride, but it's so rewarding. You know,
Mm.
you're breaking barriers, you're
Yeah.
being challenged all the time. You are building skills that you never imagined you'd build.
Yeah.
Like, being a pioneer and then using your experience to
Mhm.
bring other people through the door.
Yeah.
To say this is how it's done. So It has been. You're dealing with, state officials, city officials, the municipalities, that the DPW, the Department of Transportation. But the partnerships have been wonderful. Again,
Okay.
you build those alliances so you can continue to grow.
So you had to build up your network so that you could get that support system.
Right.
Okay, and so I'm taking notes, mental notes.
Okay.
So support system.
Yes.
Speak up.
Yeah, speak up.
What else do we have here? I know you mentioned earlier that as a woman in this industry, you had to break some barriers. So I would imagine that comes with breaking some rules and doing some things that are non-traditional for women. Because sometimes they tell us to just, sit down, be cute. It sounds like you were doing it while cute. So tell me a little bit about what it may look like as a woman in a male-dominated industry, but also as kind of creating a career for yourself, because this is your thing. I know you're giving some credit to others, but this is yours.
Well, no rule breaking, so that was the great part about it. The
Okay.
thing was to master the rule.
Got it.
So when you have a procurement process, when you have any element that's already created, you have to build on it.
Yeah.
Get so knowledgeable and so passionate about it that you're applying every ounce of your time to it.
Yeah.
As you develop it and grow.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't break the rules. Master them.
I like that.
Yeah.
Don't break the rules, master them.
Master
Okay. I'm keeping that. More mental notes. Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you think that there is room for women coming beneath you to show up in this space? And have you done anything to pour into those women?
Oh, absolutely. So again, with RE Hertha Plumbing and Heating, we were just awarded a $26 million project, and we have brought in
Let me have
women that
$20.
we've exceeded 300,000
Wow.
to $1.1 million per
Oh my
company to
goodness.
give them the opportunity that we had to fight for. We're giving it to them, and we're taking them step by step to get them to the end. After
Congratulations.
2 years, they'll be able to catapult right into this on their own.
Amazing. Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank
That
you,
is
thank you.
big stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely appreciative of your humbleness, but that's you can talk your stuff now.
Well, I'm excited because
Yes.
the last part of this piece is that he has an apprenticeship program where we're taking young adults,
Okay.
and it's the very first accredited underground utility apprenticeship program
Amazing.
in the city of Baltimore.
Okay. Tell us
Yeah.
how we can tap into that and how we can tap into you, Monique.
Oh, absolutely. So you
Right
can
here is your
reach us.
camera.
Yes, you can reach us at reharringtonplumbingandheating.com, or you can follow me on social media as known as Monique as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I
Thank
can't
you.
wait. You'll be back.
Okay.
Yes, we'll have part 2 because there's more to this conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you again, Monique. And it's Saidah Spinner again with the Boss Ladies of Baltimore, and we'll be back.
At Fulton Bank, we're personally invested in every community we serve. So sometimes we're big in small ways, like finding a way to get Crystal and Dan a mortgage before the baby arrived. Other times we're small in big ways, like local decision-making and financial coaching that helped Fernando open his own shop. Fulton Bank, a community bank that's big and small in all the right ways.
Donnie Glover Show, BMoreNews. BMoreNews.
To all of our guests, we'll see you next time. Do pick up a copy of Unapologetically Black, Journalpreneur, and I Am Black Wall Street. And do check out BMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth.
Donnie Glover Show, BMoreNews.